welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim, I'm joined by Donald. How are you?
I am still head first going into video games, as you'd expect for a host of a TV show about video games.
Yes.
All racing towards our end of Game of the Year show next week. But there are some games that I just don't have the time to. The one that's just continues to be at the top of my pile of shame.
Yeah.
So what's on your 2015 pile of shame?
Just Cause 3 is definitely up there.
Yeah.
And finishing off Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, but that's like a 500-hour epic, that one.
Yes, but what about you?
For me, it's the adventure game Life is Strange. I'll hopefully finish it by the end of the year, but by the time that we've come to our Game of the Year voting process, I just haven't had the time or been in the headspace to sort of play it. Same with Rise of the Tomb Raider, which came in late in the year, but had quite the reputation preceding it.
I'm still waiting for that to come out on PC, so...
You'll be waiting a while.
Yes, it will be, unfortunately. But certainly it's one of those games that, I look at the titles from Xbox One and even Wii U, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I can catch up on some of these games because there's some really good games on Wii U that have just come out.
Yeah. Games that appeal to you, like Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Yes, apparently that's a very good game, but I'm more looking towards, I still haven't played Splatoon. Splatoon looks like a lot of fun. Just those few games that I really want to get into over the holidays.
I like to imagine you in Super Mario Maker. Like, what kind of madness would you create?
I'd play the games, but I'm just not creative at whatsoever.
So you just recreate World 1-1, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because, you've got a template. You can just do the same thing. You don't have to be creative whatsoever. It's fantastic.
Video games, you don't have to be creative whatsoever.
But this week, we've got Project Zero coming up.
Yes, we also have a review of Yokai Watch, the Japanese sensation, finally come to Australia.
We've got indie stuff from PAX.
Yep, we also have a look, more of a look at the Japanese Film Festival.
But let's go straight into it.
So Matt, fun fact, the last time we got a Fatal Frame or Project Zero game was 10 years ago in English. Fatal Frame 4 never came out here, so now we have Fatal Frame 5 or Project Zero, Maiden of Blackwater for the Wii U.
Yeah, so Project Zero, Maiden of Blackwater is a Wii U exclusive as well, so you got to get yourself a Nintendo Wii console in order to play it. And it's an interesting little mix between combat and survival horror. So you go around adventuring, running through this haunted, accursed mountain as the main character Yuri, among many others, who are in search or they run an antique shop, and on the side they are ghost hunters as well as collectors of various paraphernalia found within the mountain.
Okay.
And yeah, that's basically it. So you run around. So as I said, the game is incredibly atmospheric. So the spooks are there. The particle effects are amazing. The motif in this game is a lot of water. So there's plenty of rain, awesome water effects, and there's actually an engine, like a mechanic within the game where if your character is drenched in water, they're more susceptible to enemy attacks.
Right,
and,
which is interesting.
It's a very interesting thing, and that's the common motif with the Blackwater. It's seen as this very dangerous life force.
I mean, the kind of thing I take away from this, I love the idea of you take photos throughout the game. You actually have to physically move the Wii U gamepad around to take photos. It is so stupid, but it actually really works, and it's weirdly fun.
Yep, the gyro sensor helps and assists really well with that one-to-one movement when you move the gamepad around. And when it comes to kind of the just these split-second moments where the ghosts jump at you, it's pretty crazy and pretty on point. Unfortunately, the game has this really incredibly formulaic structure where you go out into the mountain, retrieve someone or retrieve an item, and then suddenly they get possessed and they go back to the mountain, and you have to go and grab their hand and rip them back into the town again. Oof. Very, very strange, especially the ending. It becomes a bit of a muddled, incomprehensible mess at the end. But for the atmosphere alone, Project Zero is more than worth giving a crack.
So it's worth hunting down?
Possibly, if it's a ghost. A spooky ghost.
Spooky.
Boy, Shaney, do I love the Afro Samurai series.
Do you really love the Afro Samurai?
No,
the first game wasn't bad.
The first game, I think the one thing about this series you could say is that it would always have worked better as a game than it would as a thing. And the first game itself wasn't too bad. Like, it wasn't the best game I've ever played, but for hack and slash, it was passable. The art style looked cool.
Well, guess what I've got for you? I've got Afro Samurai 2, Revenge of Kuma, I believe.
Yeah, so the bear.
Yeah, the bear. But episode 1.
Oh, geez.
So this is, and I think it's 3-episode game. This is about, 10 hours of gameplay you have. if you can actually complete the game. Because
Okay. So is that because you literally cannot complete the game, or it's because you have more of a drive to then murder yourself than you do to finish the game?
it's a little bit of both, I think. Like there's some really bad bugs in this game. There's some really bad audio balancing also. So like you're trying to listen to a scene where there's a really emotional
Dialogue and
person.
stuff,
Yeah. And it peaks. Literally, like the audio distorts. And then you also got this scene where, like, you know, two people are talking to each other, and the game music's louder than the two people talking to each other. So you like hearing this music over the top of these two whispering people. It's emotional. But like the weird thing is, the best thing about this game is like the dialogue, the music. The worst thing about this game is the dialogue, the music, and it's just Actually, no. The gameplay is probably as bad as those. The level design is horrible. The enemy design is horrible. The animations in the actual characters themselves make no human sense.
Look weird. Like...
Yeah, like, so you're basically not playing a human. You're a robot thing that was partly human, kind of Darth Vader thing.
Yeah.
But it's just horrible. Like, this has probably got to be worst game of the year.
If you don't like skateboards, I'm sure it is.
So Falcom is one of those companies that I really, really enjoy. They do Ys, which I've enjoyed a lot. And they've also do another series called Legend of Heroes. And the one series that I really enjoy, and that, I guess sub-series you call it, is Trails in the Sky. And they've just released the second chapter on Steam.
So now, Shaney, this is the big thing with Falcom is for a long time their stuff was not available in English. It was as simple as that. And we have hit this new kind of dawn of Japanese games are suddenly as in more relevant than they've ever been as far as being translated. The process is easier, it's much simpler to do. So all these games are for the first time, that's not like a fan translation or something like that, coming to the West. And
I think we've got to thank Exceed for that, because they've done a lot of translation from a lot of different games, but especially Falcom. They really love their Falcom games, and I really love that.
So tell us about it. Like, why should... I mean, we know Ys. Most people are aware of Ys, at least. Why should we care about Legend of Sky? Legend of Heroes.
Legend of Heroes. So basically, it's an RPG, turn-based. You start on a grid and you move your characters around. So strategy RPG. Strategy RPG. It's a little bit less strategy-wise. There's not as much there. Yeah. But the thing that really takes up most of the game is the story. Yeah. And what a story it is, because it's got a lot of text. It is one of those heavy text-based games. There is no voices.
Get your reading glasses out.
Get your reading glasses out. And the story itself is very, I guess, slow-paced, but it's that slow pace that just draws you in.
So it's one of those, it's very traditional in that way, in that very heavy story focus, not necessarily simple, but not particularly difficult combat mechanics. Yeah. But that traditional Japanese charm. So that would be your selling points. That would be how you try and sell it to me.
The other thing is that there's a lot of small features that just really work well with this game. They've got this retry thing, so when you lose a battle, you can retry it, and it makes the AI just slightly dumber, things slightly easier, and that stacks up. So if you are really having trouble with a boss fight, you can just keep retrying, and it will, you will win in the end, but you will be still under-farmed and stuff, so you can still farm up later on, so you've still got this progression there that you can actually use.
So it's still accessible as well. So it kind of ticks all 4 boxes for fans of Japanese games.
Yes.
So you and I both saw some films in the Japanese Film Festival, and you saw a Miike movie.
I saw a Takashi Miike movie for this year. Actually, he had 2 this year, but that's besides the point. We're going to be reviewing As the Gods Will. So another Takashi Miike movie. You expect a lot of gore, a lot of interesting camera angles, and a lot of laughs.
And does it succeed on that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's a huge deconstruction and analysis on dark humor, and inside a high school setting, because a Japanese film.
Of course.
And it does feature this interesting tale of this game of death that people play. But this game of death involves a lot of games that are associated with children playing them. So it's like this interesting juxtaposition of childish games mixed with over-the-top gore and violence.
Okay, good.
So think of something in like a mix of battle royale mixed with a bit of Saw, mixed with a lot of laughs, a lot of dark humor, and it's a pretty good recipe. It's a recipe for disaster, but the good kind.
So let's change tack then, because we talked about horrible gore and violence and dark humor. Let's talk about a spy thriller in form of Ghost in the Shell, the new movie. That is literally the name. It's called The New Movie.
Yes, I double checked and checked on Google, and that was the exact.
Praise Google.
Praise Google. Anyway, we're jumping straight back into it. This is hot off the heels of Arise. Meiji Kusanagi is out there again with a cohort, and it's a pretty crazily paced movie as well. So
like, there's a point where there's an action scene, and then for an hour it's pure dialogue and exposition, which is like, holy crap! I didn't really expect from a Ghost in the Shell movie.
Speaking of which, there is a lot of jargon involved as well.
Yeah.
So for those that haven't seen Arise, they may come in thinking, what's going on? The central themes are there. I mean, you're in there for Ghost in the Shell, and that's exactly what it delivers.
You got your Tachikomas, you got Bato being awesome. It's a Ghost in the Shell movie, and it's kind of a good spy flick, and there's a lot of really cool action scenes, but it's still very technical. Like, again, as you're saying before, a lot of jargon. So, like, I spent half the movie like, what the hell's a ghost?
It's in the shell, obviously.
Well, clearly, but still.
Yes. So, yeah, as we said, there is a lot of jargon involved. It's probably not the one you want to jump into first. Before you jump into it. It's still kind of enjoyable in terms of animation style. The color palette is awesome. It's still kind of dark and dreary. Exact kind of dystopian future that you'd expect.
And hey, it's still cyberpunk, which is going to be something,
still
right?
Cyberpunk, so a lot of prosthetic porn. That sounds a bit dirty. A lot of prosthetic detailing and some nicely animated scenes, both action-wise and some of the pacing and plot. Some interesting stuff involved, but like I said before, it's a bit hard to get into if you're a newbie. But that aside, it's still pretty good inclusion to the Arise continuation, and I highly recommend seeing it as the gods will. You know, Miike's movie, a lot better than some of his recent efforts. Highly recommend both of them.
Now, I guess Japanese have a really big culture around bullet hells and vertical shoot 'em ups. There's been a lot of games out there that's come through. One that's, I guess, pretty old now, but actually has been re-released. Mushihimesama, or Bug Princess.
Yep. Now, if you don't like bugs, you probably won't like this game. Everything in this game is bugs.
And they shoot a lot of bullets.
Yep. But it's really beautiful. Like, the sprite work on this game is absolute top class.
It's a very beautiful game and very actually fun. It's just, if you do enjoy some sort of vertical shooters or even some sort of other bullet hells, you'll most likely enjoy this game. There's not much, I guess, differentiating itself from others. Because it was released 10 years ago, there was not much, I guess, less out there in the market, just per se, but it's still a lot of fun. It's still got a lot of difficulty add-ons. It's got different modes from, I guess, the remix mode to the normal to, if you really want your casual mode. I don't know who would play casual mode, but okay.
Oh, actually, the casual mode's throwback, and even further throwback to the old ones on the NES, or the slightly easier ones before it became bullet hell. So if you play on the lower difficulties, you get that really old school shooter feel from way back in the 80s, and you're like, oh wow. And then as you turn the difficulty up higher, it's like
yeah, depression, instant depression. One thing I did enjoy in the remix mode, if you don't use your bombs, you actually use them as a shield. That's a really cool element that I think should be used a lot more. But I really enjoyed this game. If you've got your time, you can maybe get it on Steam.
Hi everyone, it's Matt here with Barney from Powerhoof. We're going to be talking about Crawl, aren't we?
Yes.
Absolutely. So give us a rundown. What is Crawl all about?
Crawl's a local multiplayer dungeon crawler where all the monsters and traps are controlled by your friends on the couch next to you.
So it's 1 versus 3, I might add?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so with that in mind, I mean, there's a lot of inspiration from games like Gauntlet and a lot of dungeon crawlers, procedurally generated stuff like Binding of Isaac. What separates Crawl from the rest of those dungeon crawlers?
I mean, you get to be the monsters. That's basically it, So we try to make it so that all of the kind of dungeon crawl experiences you sort of have from classic games, you get to have those experiences again, but from the opposite side as well.
Yeah, I do notice a lot of these kinds of dungeon crawlers where the majority of them are cooperative fare. So you go around 4 players, they're all on the same team, fighting against a common cause and a common goal. With this one in particular, it's kind of a round robin structure where you play as a hero and some people can actually conspire to take you down and then they take your place, involve like humanity, and everyone else becomes the monster that way. So in terms of balancing, like, were there any difficulties in regards to balancing the monsters, their health count, as well as the heroes?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work balancing all that stuff, but we've sort of made it so that all the different, every scenario that sort of happens, so like this matchup of these monsters and these traps and this hero, they're randomly generated and no matchup lasts for that long, and so you get a lot of mismatched matchups, and they're often the most fun ones when you end up really overpowered in a thing, or you're really underpowered for a bit and you're really struggling, but it's just for one room and then it's different in the next room. So in some ways the unbalanced stuff is kind of part of what I like about it.
Well, it's great as well. Like, I mean, it is a multiplayer affair as well. So, like, when things are a bit unfair, that's when things get a bit ruckusy, get a little bit out of hand. And that's what you kind of want.
Yeah. For the local multiplayer stuff, for us, it's much less about being a super tight, balanced, competitive experience, and more about being a sandbox to grief your friends and just like annoy each other and make silly things happen.
Yeah. Now let's talk longevity as well. I mean, being procedurally generated, this game has a hell of a lot of it. Are there any modifiers that we can use to fine-tune our experiences?
No. It's all about just the kind of just the random stuff that comes up in each game. So, I mean, the way we've got it set up is that the people really make all the fun for each other, you know? And so your slow learning of the game and your friends' learning of the game is the thing that's going to make it change and get more interesting over time. We've got a lot of stuff that can unlock and things like that to sort of just keep it getting a bit more rich over time. But the main thing is not mechanical switches in the game that change. It's mostly just you and your friends learning more about the game and coming up with different ways to screw each other over.
I still don't see why we brought a Shinra soldier along. No way he'd throw all that away for us. What's his name, anyway?
Cloud Strife. And he says it's former soldier. Look, heavy security like this, you want a professional.
We're paying you more than a few gil. You best be worth it.
Look, I don't care about your politics.
You're doing this for the planet, same as us.
Not interested.
When? Get back here! Okay, Magoo, let's move.
I still refuse to believe that Final Fantasy VII HD Remake is actually a game that's coming out, as it's been such a legend up until this point, but they keep on releasing more information about it. The fact that, well, it's real, they've got gameplay footage, it plays like Kingdom Hearts.
But there's an issue because they made it episodic content, which Valve did with Half-Life, and never came out.
Although we live in a post Valve episodic age. We live in the time of Telltale,
Yes.
where episodes, where series are fully played out, all the episodes are released. So we'll hopefully be able to see the end of Final Fantasy VII, a Telltale game series.
Yes. Yes, hopefully we'll see. But everyone's been very excited about this one.
Have you been
I
as
personally
excited?
do not understand it. It's like everyone has
surprised.
6 copies of this game on different systems already.
Yep.
They know what's going to happen. Yes, it's a remake, but
that's the thing, it's a little bit different. As in, for one, the combat system is so much different, but they've said in interviews, like immediately after the reveal, that the game will be slightly tweaked, that it'll hit mostly the same notes, but there'll be little moments to surprise people who have played Final Fantasy VII for the longest time.
But that's not the best thing the best remake that came out of the Game Awards PSX experience.
What was it, Tim?
Ratchet and Clank.
Oh, you mean Res HD, right?
Hey guys, I'm Jordan and I'm here with Shane, and we're here to talk about a review for Yokai Watch, latest release here from Japan. It's actually been out for a few years in Japan. I think they're looking at their 3rd title over there, so it's taken some time, but now we're finally getting a chance at it, a full localized English version. It's from Level 5, it's on Nintendo 3DS, and I think from first glance of looking at it, you can't help but say it looks a little similar to Pokemon.
It's a little similar, but it's got a lot of differences. It's, I guess, the same kind of battle style. You're going into fight, usually not random encounters, that's the one thing I guess is different than Pokemon. But you go in to fight other creatures, you level up your creatures, and so on and so forth. You try to, save the world in a sense.
Yeah, that's right. The story, it's interesting. I think it's got a lot of charm and character. One big difference to Pokemon in this, I think, is the yokai, the monsters. They can actually talk themselves. So there's a lot of dialogue back and forth, and it's a really charming game. It's really cute. There's a lot of humor. Like it's fairly kiddie. It's maybe even a little more kiddie than Pokemon, if you can say that, really. But I think it still is quite engaging. It's funny. But the battles, when it comes to combat, what's different in combat?
I guess the main difference is that it's kind of like you're taken away from control. So you've got 3 creatures that are fighting at one time. They're all doing, I guess, their random things. They've got all, behaviors. So one can be an aggro, one can be attacker, one could be a healer. But they all do these random things, and sometimes it's really annoying to be unable to control. You can control, I guess, who you want to target. You can control, if you want to do a special, you actually have to put in an input. But I just don't really like the taken away control. I guess that's the element that I don't really enjoy about the gameplay.
Well, I think a lot of the depth in the gameplay comes from how you create a team. There's a lot of different combos and ways you can put a team together with healers and debuffs and buffs. But there's a lot of different ways to combine. They all come with a class, and they've got certain buffs to stats.
Yeah, it's something that I guess that's where the complex is, instead of where I guess the weaknesses that you have to aim for and stuff. It's really fun in that way, but I'm not sure if I enjoy the, I guess, taken away from control in a sense.
Yeah, honestly,
strategy game.
I really like the charm. I like the world out there. I can see why it's popular. I can see why the anime is popular, and the combat and the way it plays out, it's different enough to Pokemon for me. So honestly, I can say I quite enjoy it.
Yokai Watch.
Yokai Watch.
Yokai Watch.
Yokai Watch. It's
Pokemon.
like Pokemon.
Yes.
It's got the accented E and everything.
It's the type of game that does really lend itself well to a 3DS.
Oh yeah, of course. And I'm surprised that they didn't release a sort of peripheral to go with it. Just because, as in Pokemon Go is getting a watch, for goodness sake.
Yes.
And Yokai Watch is
Where's
such
the Yokai Watch?
It's in the cartridge slot, you see. But Yokai Watch is such an institution in Japan, and we've got multiple games, we've got cartoon series, we've got merchandise for days based on Yokai Watch.
And this was the first I'd heard of it when a Western release came out, and they've got all this stuff over in Japan. It seems to be what generally happens with Nintendo releases and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but does it appeal to you? Does it touch the little Pokemon nerve in your heart?
No, it doesn't. I've got more Pokemon to play. I can go back and play the newer Pokemons.
Yep.
Or even replay the old ones and have fun with those.
Or
But I don't need another Pokemon.
Well, what about Pokemon Picross?
No, I just want to do Pokemon Go and be Team Rocket and go up to kids and it's you're in trouble, didn't expect double, and take their Pokemon away.
You're gonna have to have a pet cat with you for this, you realise.
Yes.
Just stroke it lovingly.
That's it for this week.
Yep.
Next week we have a very special episode.
It's our big Game of the Year episode, to cut you off there. So we'll be talking about our favourite games, our favourite movies, our favourite old things of the year, and there'll be a wrap of all the news items as well.
Yes, feel free to tell us whether we're wrong or not.
Yeah.
Because Witcher 3 is obviously going to win it, let's be honest.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the quality that is the Phantom Pain.
Yep.
But yeah, if you do tell us what you think of the year in 2015, what your favorite games were, what your favorite events, gaming or otherwise, of 2015 was on our various resources, such as
our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Or our Facebook, facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV.
Our Twitters and Instagrams at NewGamePlusTV.
Or our YouTubes and Twitches, we are New Game Plus TV.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Tim.
See you guys next week.